was a good
Stand
day.
by. Bye-bye. Billy Currington and Let Me Down Easy, won't you please, on 94.3 The Ox, 827. Time for Coffee Talk, brought to you by Comanche Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture. Check them out at #Explore Comanche, Texas. As we say good morning and welcome in Cynthia Newton with Hope Counseling. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. It's Monday morning.
It is. No dodging it.
No.
We knew we were going to get here.
No, but as I was saying earlier, I have a 4-day weekend coming up. So
Wow.
So I've got a 4-day week this week and a 4-day week next week. I don't know. We'll see how I feel in a couple weeks when I come back. I may be ready to
Right, jet lag.
do something. But
What are we talking about today?
You know, with everything that's happened in the last week, last several days in our country, it kind of brought me back to the question of civil unrest and how do we manage mental health during social movements and civil unrest, and what does that really mean?
Sure.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about that because we're back at, just people upset. You're seeing so many things happen in the country right now, in the world, and it's affecting everybody. I mean,
Right.
You can't turn on the television, you can't scroll through Facebook or social media without seeing it, and it's that question of how do you deal with it. So first I want to explain what is civil unrest. Civil unrest is defined as acts of violence and disorder detrimental to the public law and order. It includes acts such as riots, acts of violence, insurrections, unlawful obstructions or assemblages. These acts often arise from social movements, and it's no surprise that in the midst of a public health pandemic like we currently are in, and other civil rights movements that we've been facing over the last year,
Right.
Civil unrest has been commonplace in our country. It is impossible to turn on the television, open a newspaper, or go online without seeing the uprisings that have happened around the world. Protests have been conducted and are continuing to be conducted and it's been one thing to the next. It's been the vaccines, and now we're seeing protests evolve because of what's happened in Afghanistan. It's
Sure.
just we're moving from one movement to another. This is not stopped. So protests are continuing we're seeing them happen in all 50 states of America, as well as in countries overseas. Though most of these protests have remained peaceful, some have spiraled into civil unrest events. So that may be we're seeing images of violence and destruction, and this can cause fear and anxiety in those of us that might be watching it. For individuals that are seeing that, anger and despair may also arise, whether you are actively participating in actions to create social change or observing the civil unrest via television or the internet. It can take a toll on your mental health, that being the key.
So like a feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah, it's important to find ways to manage your emotional and mental health during these times. So that is the key that I'm looking at, because we've got so much upheaval. It doesn't matter, and I'm not getting into a political discussion, it doesn't matter what side you're on
Right.
or where you stand. There is so much going on, and there's so much fighting, and there's so many different protests being taking place, and you're seeing it everywhere. And it's like it's going to affect you. I don't care who you are, it is affecting you on some level in some way. So how do you deal with that?
Yes.
So there's lots of things. First off, it's really important to incorporate healthy mental health practices during social movements and civil unrest. Imagine that.
Turn off the TV.
Yeah. Breathe
There you
first.
go.
Breathe.
Okay,
We
that's important.
often practice the art of breathing as a tool for self-regulation without even noticing it. A gentle sigh that you might relieve when you finish a task, the breath you take when you're suddenly surprised. These are just two ways that help us show that. Breathing helps to calm the nervous system and reduces symptoms of anxiety, fear, and anger. It helps. What I personally love about breathing, even though it does make me keep talking, is that it doesn't have to be a long practice and can be used at any time. So when you think about that, I mean, you can be driving down the road and see a sign, or you can be scrolling through Facebook and see something, and you just have to, breathe. So just be aware, that's probably the easiest thing to do is breathing, and we all do it anyways, but making sure you're taking those deep breaths to calm yourself down. Listen to your body. It takes a certain amount of selflessness to fight for a cause. When we are consumed with helping others, it's easy to neglect our own well-being. Our bodies are a lot smarter than we sometimes give them credit for. Our bodies send us signals when it's time to rest, replenish, or seek physical and emotional shelter. Acknowledge those signals. Don't ignore them. When we can take a moment to examine the physical responses our bodies have, we can then determine what we may need to do to meet our physical needs. That may mean putting your phone in another room when you feel the urge to lay down and rest. Maybe it takes a moment to eat something after a trying day. Taking care of yourself is the first act of resistance. You can't be of service to your community or be of service to any movement that you might be involved with if you are not taking care of yourself.
Sure. Makes sense.
So acknowledge your emotions. What emotions are surfacing during this time of unrest? There have been days when people, may feel anger, frustration, grief. All of these things are okay. Being able to verbalize your emotions, even if you're writing them in a journal, it's a great way to process your feelings. Don't be afraid to sink into those emotions and cope with them. If you push them down, they're going to come back out. You've got to deal with them as they come. Again, you may be sitting here going, all right, Cynthia, you're talking about this, but this isn't affecting me. Wrong. It is. Because on some level, it is affecting you. I can guarantee you in the past week, you have seen something that has triggered an emotion in you with everything that has occurred in our country and worldwide in the past week.
Right.
Okay? So it is affecting you. The question is, on what level? Listen and talk to others. Turn to your trusted friends, family, religious leaders. Our country is in pain on a multi-systematic level right now. We've been faced with uncertainty in regards to physical health, emotional health, wartime, peacetime, civil movements, all types of things. Such crises should not be navigated alone. Don't take it on alone. Be willing to listen to those who are hurting. What did I say? Be willing to listen to those who are hurting. When trying to create common ground with others who may not have the same shared experience as your own, it's easy to become defensive or shut down versus having open communication. Practice active listening when engaging in conversations to ensure that you're communicating effectively. Unplug. I have said this over and over and over the last year and a half. Do not get yourself so wrapped up in the media that you literally spend all of your time trying to figure everything out, trying to see what's there, what's not, what's this side saying, what's that side saying. Unplug. Get out from in front of the screen. Take a walk. Go outside. Do something to unplug.
Sure.
Pull away from it. Set limits. Though staying informed about the progress is important, it's okay to take a break to take care of yourself. All right. So, it's okay to seek help. So no matter how much we try to manage our emotions during these times, it may still be difficult. Sometimes we can't manage them on their own. So don't be afraid to seek help through individuals or through, as I said, through counseling or anything of that matter. Anyway, sorry, my stuff's out of order now. I messed up. So, what do you do when you have to go back to the office? I was like, wait a minute, I gotta come back to this because this is kind of cool. You think about it. All right, we've dealt with this. It's Monday. We're going back to the office. Most of us are not working from home because of COVID anymore. So it's not like, oh, I'm at home, working at home, and I don't have to deal with it. I can still deal with it in my home. So now you're going back to the office today or last week or any time, and it's, how do I deal with this? How do I do this? Because I guarantee you, coffee talk, everywhere, the water cooler, everywhere, people are going to be talking about what's going on.
Sure.
Okay? There's no one-size-fits-all option for coping. Realize what works for one person may not work for another. Okay? So, talk it out, like I said, but don't, just saying it out loud can be freeing. However, be respectful of the other people around you. That is so important. Don't get in the arguments, because all that's going to do is raise emotions. It's going to make you more mad. It's going to make them mad. Don't get in the arguments. Just talk. Talk about, hey, I'm feeling this today. I'm not talking about getting into the politics of it all. Just, I am feeling this. How are you feeling about this? And it may be totally different.
And that's okay.
It is okay.
somewhere in the past, that went out the window. Absolutely.
Find constructive outlets, whether it is political activism or doing home projects. It can be grounding to focus on concrete tasks. They don't need to be heroic, but they should push you to do more than you typically would on any given day. Develop a safety plan. So much of what is happening feels out of control. We don't have control of what's happening right now. Take back some control and make a plan for you and your family. Should things go already in your personal life, say if things are happening around you, and obviously we are located in a rural area, okay, but I know that I have people that watch this that are all over the country, and they may be dealing with more things that they're seeing.
Sure.
So just be aware that you can develop a safety plan as well for you and your family through all of this that you may be dealing with around you. Take care of your physical health. Eat healthy. Exercise. Like I said, keep doing the things that you love. If you like to go to church, go to church. Don't stop. If you love going to work out, keep doing that. Don't stop. But just create that environment for you. Go to the park. Listen to music. All those things that are comforting for you are really important to help you manage how to get through this. So the biggest thing what we have to look at often, we hear about grief. And we're looking at this right now as this is like people are going to be having a grief reaction to violence, a grief reaction to the fact that we lost 13 soldiers, a grief reaction to the fact that our kids are going to school in unknown times right now with COVID, without with all these questions of how are they safe? We've got COVID numbers rising. So we're having a grief response to all of this that's happening. Again, it's not just one thing. We've got multiple things going on right now. I don't know about you, but yeah, it can be overwhelming when you sit there and just try to think about it, even for 5 minutes. It's like, what do I focus on right now? Okay. Look at what reactions you might be having. Some physical reactions to grief and anger may include the following: trembling or shakiness, muscle weakness, nausea, trouble eating, trouble sleeping, trouble breathing, dry mouth. People experiencing grief may have nightmares, okay? They may withdraw socially, and they may have no desire to participate in their usual activities. Realize that this could be associated with a grief reaction, even though it's on a much larger level. That does not mean that it's not affecting you. So you could truly be having a grief reaction to what's going on around you in our country, or in social work, what we would call on a macro level, on a societal level. Grief lasts as long as it takes you to accept and learn to live with the change. Okay, nobody says how long does that grief last. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer. What can communities do to cope with the grief? Often community needs to come together to honor those who died and find meaning in their deaths in a way that will help everyone in the community recover. People may create a memorial and decide together that will remind them never to allow such violence in these communities again. It may help them be determined to work out their differences in other ways in the future. By forming these groups and advocacy groups and advisory groups, identifying a local leader to be their liaison with law enforcement and other government entities, it helps you have a voice. It helps you work through those emotions. Even in rural America, guys, we can still have that. So even in rural America, you are being affected by this.
Sure.
You may not personally have known one of those soldiers that died. You may not personally have known somebody that's died from COVID. Okay? More and more we are. We are knowing more and more of that. But you may be personally affected on a level that goes beyond what even I might be able to comprehend. You may be personally affected because you are a veteran yourself, and it's affecting you on a level that people don't understand. You may be personally affected because you have friends that have died from COVID, or you have extended family that are fighting COVID still. You may be personally affected because you don't, the questions of the vaccine. You may be personally affected because of your schools. You are personally affected in ways that go beyond what we can even comprehend. So be aware of that, and look at yourself look at it as a community. As a community, we can cope together, and we can manage this, and we can navigate it without fighting, without arguing. It's not about that. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about coming together. And we've done that so well, at times through this past year and a half. And we've seen ourselves come back through hurt, through anger, through disdain. But each time we come back, something happens and we go apart.
Yep.
And then we see that fighting start taking place. It's tiring. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I'll tell you that. I'm tired, and I'm trying to help people to navigate this. So it's okay. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to have these feelings. Talk to others who do understand and respect how you feel. But don't get into arguments with those that don't. Make sure to exercise and eat healthy meals. How much can I emphasize that? You've got to take care of yourself.
You know, that's in almost everything you ever talk
It's
about.
absolutely right.
That and sleep. Proper sleep.
Yeah, if you get anything, yeah, exactly. Sleep, eating, and take care of yourself. You've got to take care of you. Get back into your routine. Allow yourself to feel joy at times and to cry when you need to. Becoming more understanding and tolerant, okay? Even though we may experience grief, some individuals also exhibit a positive changes from their experience. Okay? Through grief, you might learn how to become more understanding and tolerant. Wow.
Yeah.
Having appreciation for relationships and loved ones. Through your grief, you may actually have a stronger appreciation for those. Through your grief, you may become grateful for what they have and for those in their community who are loving and caring. Through your grief, you might experience an enhanced spiritual connection. And through your grief, you may become more socially active. Take that grief, use it for good. Don't use it to destroy you. Don't use it to destroy your neighbors or your community around you. Take your grief and use it for good. It doesn't matter what side of the fight that you're on. That's not important. Take your grief and use it for good. If you have experienced any type of death or any type of loss through anything that we've been going through, or if you've experienced anything as a result of community violence, just be aware that you are going to have grief. You're going to have anger. You are going to have that even though you may not have personally experienced it because we're watching it on the news. You are experiencing it. It's called secondhand trauma. You are experiencing it. Look for resources, find help. We're here at Hope Counseling of Texas. We've got office locations in Comanche, Hamilton, Eastland, and Dublin. Please don't hesitate to contact us at 325-356-1105. Reach out to us on Facebook at Hope Counseling of Texas. We have 3 therapists on staff, and we'll do anything we can to help you through this time, help you navigate. Your kids are back in school. Help your kids cope with what they're dealing with to the best of your ability. We are in person. We are doing virtual as needed especially with more people having to go into COVID quarantine again. So just be aware that we're offering both, and we're here for you.
Some people are better at, my wife always says, water off a duck's back, right? Some people are better at that than others, and they think, what's your problem? And then it goes back to listening you were talking about, and you can't belittle them. When you're, that's no big deal. That's nothing. Well, it is to them, or they wouldn't be saying it.
That's exactly right. You have to look at you got to meet somebody where they are. And again, if you don't feel comfortable having that discussion, it's okay to set a boundary. It's okay to set limits. It's okay to say, hey, I can't talk about this right now. I'm over the top. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to ruin a friendship. I don't want to ruin something by saying this. Check out. If you need to deactivate your Facebook profile for a little while, do it.
A bunch of you need to do that, by the way.
Do it. Don't get in those fights. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt others. Because things can be said that you can't take back. And in the end, we are a nation united.
Together. Yeah.
In the end, we are a nation united. We are the United States of America. And when you look at that, you have to find some common ground.
Yep.
Or else we will continue to destroy each other from the inside out.
Yeah. There's no middle of the road anymore.
And again, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. Again, I want to make this very clear, I am not taking a political stand.
Right.
I am here to help you navigate the questions and what is going on right now and how to cope with that.
All right, Cynthia Newton, we sure appreciate it. Of course, next Monday, we're all going to be off. We talked about the 4-day weekend.
We'll be off, so I'll see y'all back in 2 weeks.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Harris broadband customers and future customers, good news is here. Harris broadband.